Hello to all of my fellow Pompe patients, their caregivers, family members, medical experts, advisors, and anyone else I might have missed. My name is Roly and I was diagnosed with late onset Pompe disease in the middle of April in 2018. Now, I remember it pretty well because it was only a couple of days before International Pompe Awareness Day, which also happens to be the same day as my beautiful wife Shelley's birthday. Yeah, that's right. That went down pretty well. She was pretty happy to share that day with all of us, so I think we can consider ourselves all pretty lucky there. Well, or not, either way, see how we go. All right, 4 years before I was diagnosed, my wife and I mainly Shelley, gave birth to fit and healthy triplets. A beautiful set of identical twin girls, Grace and Bridie, and their slightly younger brother Archer. Now they had or still have an older sister, Ruby, who was 16 months old when they were born. Yeah, I just let that sink in for all the dads out there and probably some of the mums, but yeah. So 4 kids, 16 months old and younger. So that was good fun. Okay, a bit about my life pre-Pompe. Now, I was lucky enough to gain an apprenticeship in fitting and machining after finishing high school. And once I'd finished the apprenticeship, I knuckled down and did what I thought was the right thing to do for a while. But as it turns out, what the right thing to do wasn't really the right thing to do for me. So when I was about 30, I found myself travelling around Australia, which was good. Yeah, so with my trade background, I found it relatively easy to find work in most places I went. Now, after a season working at a ski resort in New South Wales, a newfound friend and I thought it'd be a good idea to travel overseas, sort of namely Europe, for 12 months and see where that led us. But the bank account wasn't looking very healthy, so to accumulate some funds pretty quickly, well, not fun, although we did have a bit of that, but fun, to accumulate some funds pretty quickly, I made my way north up to Queensland, or central Queensland, and I worked quite a few shutdowns in the coal mines up there. Now, if you've worked, or anyone that's spent any time up in sort of central Queensland around Christmas, sort of during summer, or maybe the wet season as well, it can get pretty sultry, pretty humid and warm. So to keep up my exercise, I found solace in the local swimming pools of the towns that I visited. Now, it might sort of sound a little bit irrelevant, but that form of exercise stuck with me for a while, so much so that once I'd met Shelley and we got married, we made our way to a place called Karratha, which it's closer to the equator than most capital cities in Australia. So I continued doing my swimming there for the exercise because it's pretty warm and humid up here as well. I found employment up here. My first job up here was with a major employer, and I'm still with them now, but my first job I had with them was working in an office, an office job, my first office job that I'd ever had. So after I had it for 2 years, but after about 6 or 8 months, 10 months of working that job, I noticed sort of something going on with my balance, more hamstring issues, balance, maybe hamstrings. But I was playing basketball again, and I was still swimming and doing a little bit of bike riding. But I just thought there's something not quite right with it. So I thought it might be all the swimming that I'm doing. I know as we try and put it down to something. Maybe it's all the swimming that I'm doing and not really much else exercise. So I cut back on the amount of swimming I was doing and tried just doing a bit of jogging. So I went down the park with the dog and sort of tried to jog around the park for a bit, but I couldn't really sustain a constant pace. I could sort of jog for 100 metres and I'd have to stop for 50 metres and jog again, but I just couldn't sustain that pace. I thought that's a bit strange because I thought I'm still pretty fit and healthy. Decided to come back down the park and keep it up for a few weeks, come down for a few sessions, for a few weeks, but it didn't really make much difference. So it's where I made an appointment with Dr. Google. And as it turns out, I'm still sort of thinking it's my hamstrings, and it turns out that sort of short hamstrings isn't really an issue. Recommend maybe just go and see the local physiotherapist. So I did that, and we made a a pretty intense, I guess, core. She was saying, between your core and your hammies, let's get a core and hammy strengthening program going. So we did that for 6 or 7 weeks, and I was regimented. Yep, we did this, made it all work. Unfortunately, after about 6 or 7 weeks, there was noticeably no change at all. There was no strength gain. So yeah, she said, look, it's out of my hands. So she gave me a referral letter to see a neurologist in Perth. Excuse me. On a side note, when I handed the referral letter to my GP to get the actual referral to a neurologist in Perth, my local GP wasn't too happy about it because she hadn't really assessed me herself, even though I'd been sort of nagging her about this complaint for the preceding 4 or 5 years. But anyway, that's where it was. I'm not going to say begrudgingly gave me the referral, but yeah, she gave me the referral. And yeah, with my first consult in Perth with the neurologist, we sat down and we were chatting, and I thought, he's nice, he's a nice guy, he wants to get to know me, my past employment, and what I do for exercise, and where I'm working now, and what just what do you do? How are you? He also did a nerve conduction test at the same time, and he was giving himself the idea, okay, all right. Towards the end of the consult, he thought it'd be a good idea to have a blood spot test done. He just mentioned, he said, you might have something called Pompe disease. He said, have you heard of it? And I said, no, I haven't heard of Pompe disease. No, I haven't heard of Pompe disease. So don't worry about it. He said, you won't have, it's a 1,000,000 to 1 chance you'll have it, but we'll just cross it off the list. Yeah, so I sort of, cheerio, on my way down to the pathology, and we sent that blood test away. And almost 2 weeks later to the day, he called me back to say, yeah, Roly, you've confirmed you've got late onset Pompe disease. And my Pompe journey began in earnest after that. Yeah, so that was April. I had my first infusion in August that year. But the only place available, available is for the ERT is down in Perth. Now, Karratha is 1,600 kilometres north of Perth, so that was a sort of a 2.5 to 3 day round trip to receive ERT. I've got a young family at home, a wife that's doing very well, I must admit. She did an amazing job for the 9 months that it took. Yeah, so we had 9 months in the interim before the powers that be made the treatment available in Karratha here. So now I'm getting the ERT in my local health campus, which is literally, it's a 5-minute drive from my home. So I leave home at the same time as the kids go to school, and I'll finish, plenty of time to go and pick them up after school, which is pretty cool. Look, I know there was plenty of work done behind the scenes that I'm probably blissfully unaware of to make the treatment available in Karratha. And I'd like to say thanks to anyone that's had anything to do with that, whether they're listening or not. My wife also says a big thank you. She says now that you just have a 2.5 day jaunt to Perth for my ERT. Now you just have 5 or 6 hours of fortnight time out on your own. Look, there's plenty of other things I'd like to be able to say, or could say, but I'll finish it there. And I'll make my details available for anyone that wants to get in touch with me. I'll make my details available with the Pompe Association. So get in touch with Renee or anyone that you know that's in the association. I'm sure that if we haven't done it already, we'll do it now. All right, team. Good luck, and I'm glad I can sort of spend a bit of time with you all. And good luck with everything. Out.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Roly, and Shelley too. Thanks for sharing your story. We're so glad that you can actually get your treatment closer to home, Roly, and you don't have to do that trip every 2 weeks. So really glad that that worked out. But thank you, and we look forward to actually seeing you again in person one day. But I hope that you are with the rest of the WA peeps today and having a good time. So thanks for sharing your story once again. That is it. We have got through everything today ahead of time, which is good. It's amazing. So I just want to say thank you.